control of the money supply through the banks, lands, homes, and businesses. The dictator used at times the unions and the youth movements to gain influence and control over the people. I would submit to you in boldness that we are back at 1776. We used to have statesmen who spoke from their heart, but now we have individuals that have teams of speechwriters. We used to have leaders who did what was right, but now we have leaders who vote according to the latest polls. We used to have leaders that when you looked at them, you saw a real person, but now you see a Hollywood media marketed person with their clothes, hair, and makeup. We used to have patriots. Some of them were farmers, but now we have professional, polished lawyers in leadership. We used to have leaders who protected the nation. Now we have leaders more concerned about being reelected and keeping their paycheck than they are the people in America. We used to have men of honor. Now we have people willing to sell their honor and sell the nation to stay in power. It's 1776 all over again. There is a crisis, and I'm going to say it, in leadership, in the church, in society, and in high places. Moses was a leader, but he warned that after his death, Israel would turn from God in Deuteronomy 31:27 because of a lack of leadership. Joshua and the elders, the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had seen the great works of the Lord, but there arose another generation after them that knew not God, nor the works that he had done in Israel. When the leadership died, there was a void created, and the people turned away from God. When Joseph died, that is when shortly thereafter the Hebrew people went under Pharaoh's bondage. Paul said, when I am gone, that means when I am died, some grievous men will creep in, causing division within the flock. Acts chapter 20, verse 29. Now, let me just say something to you. There is what I call the fate of the union. That if something doesn't happen in the Spirit, if God's people do not begin to pray, if we do not stick together as a body, if the truth lovers are divided instead of standing firm, I believe we're going to see some things. Now watch carefully, the fate of the union. In history, most economic crisis was a result of unpaid debt and uncontrolled spending. In some cases, the crisis was manipulated by the rich money changers using interest. In 1929, I don't want to touch on this. I'm going to give you the three organizations that are impacting America tomorrow night. I've never preached this in my life. I never thought I'd ever preach it. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to save that till then. But 1929, in the Great Depression, the Federal Reserve pumped money before 29 into the economy, and everybody had money. Money was everywhere. They suddenly realized they had printed too much money, so they wanted to contract the money and pull it out of circulation. When word got out that they were pulling money out of circulation, this is before credit cards, this is before you could put something on a bank card and use a card, this was cash. Everybody used cash. People became afraid and was afraid their bank was not going to have money, and there was a run on the bank, and the run on the bank eventually created the Great Depression, and it was years later that a retired member of the Federal Reserve admitted that the way the Reserve handled the money problem of contracting the money at that time was one of the reasons, not the only, but one of the reasons why that the Great Depression took place. Now, you know that I preach cycles. If you've been around me any length of time, you know one of my main things that God has given me as a gift is to be able to go into the Old Testament and show you how a pattern is repeating itself. You know, in the Old Testament, and I'm going to make a point here, I don't want you to get caught up on the 9 things I'm going to tell you. I want you to get caught up at the verse I will read at the end of this. There was a time when Israel followed God, but then they started seeing other nations and wanted to be like them. So they said, give us a king like other nations. God says, you know what? Listen. God said, I'll give you what you want, but you won't like what you get. God, it ain't going to be what you think. And the first king of Israel was Saul. Let me tell you 9 things about Saul. Number 1, he was from a family with no royal lineage, 1 Samuel 9:1. Number 2, he was a head taller than everybody else, 1 Samuel 9:2. Number 3, he was herding donkeys when they discovered him. I'll let you figure that one out yourself. A little parallel there. I didn't say nothing. Watch this. He began humble, but he became arrogant. 1 Samuel 15:17. He would not destroy the enemies of Israel. He wanted to negotiate with them. 1 Samuel 15:20 through 23. He wanted to look good in the eyes of the people. 1 Samuel 15:30. He fought against anybody who crossed him. 1 Samuel 18:10 through 11. He was good at playing people at both sides. 1 Samuel 19:23 through 24. And eventually, he turned on anybody who claimed to be righteous. Now, Saul raised the taxes of the people. Do you know that? That's one of the first tax increases was under Saul. But listen to the condition that people got into when they got what they wanted, but didn't like what they got. You ready? This is in the Bible. 1 Samuel 22:1 through 2. God begins to raise up David in a wilderness. Now, this is the condition of Israel. David therefore departed from thence and escaped to the cave of Adullam. So when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down there to him. And everyone who was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontented, gathered to him, so he became a captain over them, and there were about 400 men. The nation was in distress. Oh my, help me, Holy Spirit. 1 in every 20 Americans that are age 12 and over are classified as being depressed continually. 16% of the Americans depressed. The nation is discontent. More distrust in leadership and systems, and I'll even say the church, than there ever has been. Number 3, the nation was in debt. I don't think I have to tell you, but the latest statistic is that every child born now has already, the moment they're born, $350,000 of money they'll have to pay to the government just in their debt alone. And it's getting higher. It'll be up to $400,000 before long. Now, some of you have heard me talk about this, but I must bring this out very quickly. And that is this, that we very much at this point of time in American history are following a strange path of what I call the ghost of Rome. The ghost of Imperial Rome has risen again on Pennsylvania Avenue. Pennsylvania Avenue, remember, is where you have the White House all the way to the Capitol. It's where the legislative, judicial, it's where the decisions are made. But the ghost of Rome tonight is walking Pennsylvania Avenue. What do I mean by that? America and Rome, both leading superpowers of the world, both the greatest military in the world, both occupied the Middle East, both dealt directly with Israel, both dealt directly with the Jewish people, both had a main leader, a president and a Caesar, both allowed the killing of infants, both allowed a freedom to homosexuals, both allowed the gods of other nations to be accepted, both had large stadiums for their sporting events, both loved the races, the car races, the chariot races, both had a national anthem they sang at their sports events, both people had people to stand at the singing of the anthem. Both had a flag. Both had a pledge to the flag when they put their hand over their heart. Both had a welfare system. Both used peace to try to stop rebellions. Both used their army in the border to try to keep wars from breaking out. And both of them were taxed. The decay of ancient civilization. Quote, the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, that is to say of ancient civilization as a whole, has two aspects. The political, the social, as well as the economic, on the control of the money supply through the banks, lands, homes, and businesses. The dictator used at times the unions and the youth movements to gain